So there's one thing every entrepreneur does that makes business 10 times harder than it needs to be. And if you want to make business easier so you can make more money than you'll ever need without spending your entire day working, you need to stop doing it. So in this video, I'll not only show you what this thing is, but I'll also show you a guaranteed method I've used in my clients to help them fix it and in turn build an insane amount of momentum, get more done towards their goals in 1 week than in the past 3 months, and add over $15,000 a month to their business so that you can do the same. So what is the one thing you're doing that's making business 10 times harder than it needs to be? Well, for it to make sense, imagine you decided enough was enough. You liked living in your house, but you wanted to build your own. You wanted everything to be entirely to your liking, the kitchen countertops to be your choice, the ceiling height to be your choice, and the amount of natural light to be up to you. And so you decide to get in contact with a few contractors to get this dream house built. Of course, naturally, you want it built as fast as possible and to the highest quality, and so you only hire the best of the best. Monday morning comes around and they get to work. You come back on Friday afternoon to see how they're getting on, only to see they've started framing the house without putting in the foundations. Confused, you ask them, what the fuck are you doing? They apologize, take it all down, start again, okay? Now next Friday you come back. They've got the foundations in, great, they listen to you, but now they're installing the electrics without the house being built. So now you're sort of pissed off, you thought they were the best, but yet they're making these colossal mistakes. You speak to the main contractor and ask him, what's going on here? And it turns out you didn't give them a blueprint or plan of action, so they didn't know what to work on first. And if you can't prioritize, you're doing the exact same thing in your business, making it 10 times harder than it needs to be. Look, you might be amazing at what you do, you likely are, you might be the fucking best in the world, but if you can't prioritize the highest ROI tasks and the highest leverage problems, you'll start framing the house without the foundations. You'll make stupid mistakes that hold you back and guarantee your business doesn't grow past where it is now, or at least doesn't grow as fast as it could be. So how do you prioritize so that you can make business easy? Well, there's a few steps you need to follow, so let me show you step 1. And this first step is the foundation of prioritization. Once you follow it, everything will become so much easier. So imagine you sit down on your couch. You want to turn on the TV. Well, what do? You don't just sit there and hope the TV turns on. No, you get up, you find the remote, you press the right button and make the TV turn on. Well, prioritizing really isn't any different to this. And I'll show you how right now, but for it to make sense, you need to understand the systematic law of the universe. You see, everything is a system that comprises of inputs, processes, and outputs. Turning the TV on is a system. You create the output of the TV turning on or wanting the TV to turn on. And for that output to happen, a certain input has to happen, which is pressing the button on the remote. This allows the process of the remote sending pulses of infrared light to your TV to turn it on to happen. Now, here's where prioritization comes in. Every system influences other systems and is influenced by other systems. So if the actual output you wanted, your actual goal when sitting down on your couch was to turn on a certain Netflix show, there's no point you worrying about creating the input of selecting the show on Netflix until you've created the input of pressing the power button on the remote and created the output of the TV turning on. Now, how can you actually use this in business? Because I realize it's quite abstract so far. Well, quite simply, anytime you have to choose between what task to do first or what problem to solve first, draw out a systems diagram. Start with your goal output. What is it you're trying to accomplish? Figure out the input of that system. What do you need to do to create the output? But then go further. What is the input of your input? So for example, if your client acquisition system has the input of you creating content to drive traffic, well, you creating content, the input of system 1, is the output of another system, which is going to be your content creation system. I would highly recommend you map this out in something like Milanote and do it for every system in your business so that you can see how every system interlinks. This is what's called a systems ecosystem. Now, typically when you're prioritizing, you never need to go further than 2 systems. So you always start with the goal output, and the reason you start with the goal output is because prioritizing something means you're choosing it over other options. For you to choose it, you need to believe that it's the best option to choose, and that requires you to know where you want to go. You need the goal, because if you know where you want to go, you're able to choose the option that will push you there best. Without knowing what you want, where you want to go, you don't have something through which you can judge the efficacy of your actions and decisions. Hence, you can't prioritize. So in fact, as much as you should build out the systems ecosystem for your business, you should also sit down and draw out the systems diagram of your goal. And I wonder if we can count how many times I say systems in this video. It's going to be a lot. Start, as always, with your desired output, your goal, and reverse engineer it into the actions you need to take. And funnily, as an entrepreneur, your goal will always likely be a business goal, and you'll find the input of the system for your goal will also be the output of the systems in your business. Anyway, back to prioritizing. When you have to choose between certain tasks to do, certain projects to work on, or certain problems to solve, always start with your goal output. Ask yourself, what is it I want to achieve or do in this situation? Because without knowing this, you quite literally can't prioritize. And as soon as you get clear on this direction or goal, you'll be able to look at the tasks, projects, or problems in your business, and you'll instantly be able to eliminate a few of them because they just won't push you toward your goal, and hence they quite literally don't matter. Now, if you still have to choose between tasks, you then want to look at your system's ecosystem and typically prioritize the first input related to your goal output, as the first input is the highest leverage. So if you think of your system ecosystem as a pipe, and each input is a potential block that stops water from flowing through the pipe. So if you're not doing a certain input correctly, that input blocks a pipe and nothing can get through to the next input or the output, okay? Well, you can completely open up the block right before the end of the pipe, your goal output, but if the water is blocked at the start of the pipe, you clearing the block at the end doesn't make more water flow. Hence, by working on that first input, you create the most leverage. If you draw out all these systems in your business, starting from your goal output and asking yourself what I need to do to get this whole idea of systems, ecosystems, and inputs and outputs will become much clearer because you'll have it in front of you. But in general, every business should have a client fulfillment system, an onboarding system, a sales system, a marketing system, and a customer support system. Of course, there's definitely going to be, other important systems in there depending on your business size and type. For example, if you have a ton of staff, maybe you have a communication systems and a training system. So go build whatever systems you need in your systems ecosystem, going over the output, process, and input of each system. The output is what you want to happen. So, sign in a client. The process is how it happens, like a sales page or a sales call. And the input is what you need to do to make it happen. So drive traffic to the sales page. And look, I'm not just saying to do this just so you know what the first input is, because often prioritizing isn't that simple. You see, imagine your system as a pipe again. If your first input is 20% blocked, so only 80% of the water, and when I say water, what I really mean is cash or traffic or, clients, whatever it is, depending on the context of the system, only 80% of the water can get through. But the fifth input is 90% blocked, so barely any water gets past the fifth input, only 10%. Is it still worth fixing the first one before you fix the fifth one? Like, sure, it could be fixed and optimized, but that doesn't mean it's the best target to prioritize. So how do you know what is? Well, let me show you, and this is another reason why it's so important to know every system and every step of every system in your business, because then guess what you can do? You can track data. You can see how many people view your sales funnel, how many people click through onto the application page, or how many people show up to a call. And when you know the data at each step, you can see what parts of the systems are below benchmark KPIs or standards that part should reach. You then want to prioritize the tasks or problems that revolve around the inputs furthest away from the benchmarks. And if multiple are below, working the earliest in the system, unless one is massively below the benchmark, then focus on it. And look, I get that this can seem sort of confusing, but don't worry, let me simplify it for you into just a few steps that you can run through anytime you need to prioritize something. Start by drawing out all the systems in your business and of course the system for your goal. Don't worry about these being perfect, okay? You can optimize and change them over time. Get clear on the 1 to 3 tasks that you need to do every day to move toward your goals. This should be super clear when you draw out the systems, and these are always your number 1 priority, as they are the main things that will push you toward your goal and help you achieve it. You should always have these prioritized each day. And then when you're struggling to know what to prioritize, make sure you're still prioritizing these 1 to 3 tasks that you need to do to move towards your goals, but then prioritize tasks, projects, or problems in this order. First, prioritize the task, project, or problem that has a KPI that is far below its benchmark. If none of them are that far below their benchmark, or they're all similar, prioritize the earliest in the system. And look, it's one thing to prioritize these in your mind, okay? You can sit there and be like, okay, yeah, I know I need to prioritize this task and fixing this problem. But having it prioritized in your mind and actually reflecting that priority in your day is completely different. You need to make sure that your schedule is representative of your priorities by scheduling your 1 to 3 tasks, your top priorities first, then schedule the projects, tasks, or problems that you're prioritizing next. Schedule your day in order of priority, because you're not actually prioritizing something if your schedule does not reflect it. So remember to plan your day in order of priority. And you know, one of the things I do with all my clients is get them to build out these systems, ecosystems, so that when they have to prioritize, they can actually do it efficiently and do it effectively, so that their performance and their effectiveness isn't limited by their inability to prioritize. Because if you don't know what task or problem to prioritize, one of two things is going to happen. Either, you know, you're just going to waste a ton of time trying to figure out what to prioritize and basically getting nothing done, or you're going to work on problems or tasks that should not be prioritized, that are low leverage, low ROI, and you're wasting your time. So if you want to improve your performance and operate and focus at your peak so that you can actually grow your business effectively and become all you could be and become the best version of you as an entrepreneur, you need to be able to prioritize so that you can reflect your priorities in your schedule and be as effective and as productive and perform as optimally as possible. And look, it's one thing to know how to prioritize, like we just covered in this video, but there's 3 mistakes almost every business owner makes that will stop you from being able to act on those priorities. So watch this video here to find out what they are and how to fix them.